My travels are taking me deeper into the interior of New South Wales, Australia. The landscape has become decidedly more rural, with open fields and grazing ranges. It's wonderfully peaceful, and you never know what you might come across as you go. Hope I didn't spook 'em. The road turns from paved to dirt as I enter the area known as the Bungawalbyn Valley Basin, the home to Genbrook Farm. This low-lying wetland area has not suffered from the sustained drought conditions that plague most of the country in recent years. In fact, they've already seen some 43 inches of rainfall this season. These are perfect conditions for the type of tree I'm looking for, the tea tree. Particularly, I'm in search of the botanical species Melaleuca alternafolia, which loves the marshy, humid climate that naturally exists here. I'm told that carbon dating in the region has determined that this tree has thrived on these lands for some 36,000 years.
Hello. Hi.
How's it going?
Welcome to Genbrook.
This is the tea tree farm?
That certainly is, sir.
And what are you cooking?
We're just firing up the stills.
Uh-huh. What's your name?
My name's Brian.
Brian, I'm Nathan.
G'day, Nathan. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And this is your property?
Yes, it is. This is Genbrook Farm, organic tea tree plantation.
Organic tea tree plantation. That's exactly
wild
why I've
harvest.
Come. Wild harvested. What does that mean?
Well, it means that it's harvested in the wild.
Uh-huh.
It's in its own native state, the way nature intended it to be.
Would it be possible to take a look around?
Yeah, most certainly can.
Yeah? All right, let me just grab my hat because this hot sun's a little bit strong for me.
I agree.
My fair English skin. It's quite a trek to get all the way out to where they're harvesting the trees. The trails are rough going, made more so by the recent heavy rains. So we've loaded on to the New South Wales Fire Brigade truck, ably piloted by Captain Bob. The absolutely wild trees typically cultivated are actually inaccessible today because of the saturated ground. They grow in such low-lying areas that it's too wet for harvesters to work safely, or for trucks to get close enough to haul the leaves out of the forest. So after about 30 minutes, we've reached the reserve section of the plantation, where Brian's crew is hard at work on the planted rows. He assures me that this is still considered wild growth forest because the trees are surrounded by other native trees and grasses, which provide shelter for the predators that keep potentially harmful pests at bay. So the natural balance is maintained without the need for chemical intervention. While the rains present some difficulty in the harvest of the tea tree, its abundance benefits the forest in many other respects.
Some of the compounds in the tree, in the oil that it produces, have an antifungal effect. So in wet weather, we're of the opinion that the water miscible compounds flow down into the root structures via the bark. Mm-hmm. Because if you harvest it during a wet period, the yield is down considerably. So we're of the opinion that the oil is shedding compounds out of the oil into the ground to act as an antifungal agent.
As were so many of the world's beneficial natural remedies, tea tree oil was originally discovered by the native people of this area. The tea tree got its name when the Aborigines showed Captain James Cook and his men how to boil the leaves to make a spiced tea. The Bundjalung Aborigines have utilised the oil from the leaves of this tree for thousands of years. They would rub the saturated leaves on burns, cuts and bites to alleviate pain and heal the skin. They would use crushed leaves as an insect repellent. When the white man arrived in Australia, they called the organic compound bush oil and marketed it to the masses. There have been studies to indicate that it's effective in treating acne, infection, bacteria and fungal problems. It's used successfully on animals to ward off fleas, ticks, mange and ringworm. A fully grown tree can reach some 30 feet in height, but the mother trees can reach significantly higher. Genbrook Farm has more mother seed trees than anywhere else in the world. One thing that's surprising me is the way that they're so small. I was thinking that tea trees, there you go, that's how you say it, isn't it?
That's correct.
I was thinking tea trees with all the other Aussie trees that you have all being immense and having a big canopy and whatever. I imagine it to be a huge tree.
No, they appear to bonsai. There's a mother tree, a seed tree that we've left there, and these will be harvested again in another 12 to 18 months.
So another tree is going to grow out of this?
That's right, it will recoppice it, and the foliage and the stem will grow from around the base of that stump.
Okay.
And that stump will continue to grow in size over the years.
We'll now head back towards civilization. I'm eager to see how they go about extracting the essential oil from the tea tree leaves and process it for different applications. So we're bumping our way back to the compound, where Bryan has promised to show me just how it's done. Deb and Michael are hard at work loading today's harvest into the Gembrook Farm stills in order to begin the process of organic tea tree oil extraction. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to a couple of my new friends.
So these are wallabies, pretty-faced wallabies, smaller versions of the kangaroo. They're quite sweet, aren't they? Here on Bryan's tea tree farm, Bob, the fella that took us out in the fire truck, he gives them a little bit of feed. He says he's got 4 coming at the moment. He has got a pretty face.
A wallaby is an informal name given to any macropod that is smaller than a kangaroo. In many subtropical regions of the world, they're considered a feral nuisance. But here they're just considered cute.
I'd like to show you the distillation method.
Okay.
We follow the same system and traditions of the old-fashioned distillation. Now, the simple system of this distillation processing is that we're creating the fire. We take the exhaust through the water. The water level is up to here, allowing space for the steam. So we're producing the steam that goes into the bottom of the vat, and that vat is holding about 450 kilos of tea tree leaf and stem.
And what about the ecological impact of using this timber?
These are major eucalyptus trees that have died or fallen down. They've been, as you can see, this one has been suffered the effects of bushfire, so the tree has died.
Yeah.
So this amount of wood here would run about 4 or 5 stills, so it's a very efficient process. So if we didn't burn it here, it would no doubt be burnt in a bushfire. We're working with nature very effectively, in my view.
Gembrook Farm has been working symbiotically with the surroundings for more than 100 years to produce the finest therapeutic grade oil in the world. Bryan is a 3rd-generation tea tree farmer, and he takes it as a personal responsibility to ensure that careful hand harvesting and slow process distillation guarantees their oil is 100% pure.
Now, the steam is the vehicle that travels up through the leaf.
Yep.
It encourages the oil in the leaf to vaporise. It then exits from the top. It then goes into a cooling system as a gas. It is then condensed through that cold water in stainless, and it then goes into a settling pot in the room at the back of the building. Now, I've taken a sample of the condensed water returning into the settling pot. The oil being lighter than the water is floating on the top, so that's pure 100% organic tea tree oil. If you have a wound, an injury, you mentioned you had a mosquito bite,
I've got a few.
Great. It would be great on there.
All right, thank you.
Immediate relief.
Yeah. Wow, that is tea tree oil. I'm going to stink of it for weeks.
Bryan and I are headed now for his manufacturing plant in Korakai. This is where Gembrook Farm tests its oil for quality, then bottles much of it for delivery to retailers in its pure form. But the oil is utilised in a wide range of other beneficial products as well. It's included in herbal hair shampoos and conditioners, It's used in natural cold and flu medications. It's an active ingredient in aluminium-free deodorant and a variety of creams and cleansers. I've already pointed out its well-known effectiveness as an antiseptic and antibiotic. I've just learned that organic tea tree oil contains more than 100 separate compounds, which makes it nearly impossible for infectious bacteria to develop a resistance to it. A liability for many of today's cheaper, petroleum-based simple compounds that are designed to fight infection.
Well, thank you very much, Bryan.
You're very welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
To have had you all day.
Apart from the mosquitoes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
When we return, we'll leave the tranquility of Gembrook Farm for the fast pace of the big city.